Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Garcia, and today we are continuing our Instagram Lives with the Undergraduate Research Program. Our live for today is going to be with Simon from the program MARC, and we're just going to wait for him a little bit until he is able to join us. And if you guys have any questions, you guys can also go ahead and ask them in the question box down below.
Oh gosh, sorry. There we go. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm surviving right now. Midterms are a little bit over, just working on papers and stuff right now.
Mine were last week. I died last week.
Oh gosh, yeah. Honestly though.
Okay, so can we get started with your introduction of your full name, year and major, and research program affiliation?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Simon Shao. I'm currently a fourth year molecular cell biology major, and I'm in the Maximizing Access to Research Careers, or the MARC program.
Thank you. So let's hop into our first question. How did you learn about research, or how did you become interested in research?
So I actually learned about research just because I was taking the biostats class with Dr. Carter, and I had talked to him after class a little bit just about kind of career choices for people with biology majors, and then he kind of went into how you either go into like industry, teaching, or like academia. And I don't know, one of the first things he mentioned was research, and he was talking about the research that other professors did, and it just sounded super interesting to me. So I started looking more into it and looking into these types of programs.
Awesome. Can you describe the steps that you took to find your faculty mentor?
Yeah, of course. So honestly, I think the first step I took was just kind of asking around. I absolutely had no idea kind of what a faculty mentor was supposed to do, other than like mentor people. So I asked people, I went to people's offices and just kind of said, hey, like what should I look for in a faculty mentor? And they kind of all said that you should look for someone that kind of supports you and supports your success and is there for you when you have questions or when you need it. So I kind of looked around at different professors and different faculty, and the main like kind of criteria I had for choosing one was just somebody who is heavily invested in research and had interesting research to me, but also somebody who's just like kind, considerate, and really just knowledgeable about their field and really just like kind of out there with it. But yeah.
Is there a specific like website that you went to, or did you just like ask your professors, or how did you reach out to people?
Yeah, so very honestly, I just looked at the biology faculty directory and a little bit of the chemistry faculty directory. And from there, you can kind of go to people's websites, and then you can kind of tell whether people have like updated websites, whether or not they're kind of like active, or whether or not they're, kind of like present for, the opportunity. But yeah, so I looked at the faculty directory, went to people's websites, and then finally settled on emailing a few people that I thought were really interesting.
Thank you for that. Can you tell me about your current or past research projects? Was it independent research, or did you join an existing research project with your faculty mentor?
Yeah, of course. So I've had a few different research experiences in kind of different areas, but the most recent ones are probably like my Cal State Long Beach research. For that research, it's essentially reproductive biology. So what I look at is I look at gene expression in ovaries over like different photoperiods. So kind of like how long a hamster is exposed to a photoperiod dictates what its reproductive physiology and behavior is like. So you have like breeding seasons, I guess is the easiest way to say it. So during the breeding season, I was looking at these genes related to the lack of oxygen or hypoxia and seeing how they affected like the ovary's ability to kind of regress or shrink and lose function, and its ability to come back over like seasonal cycles. And I would say that,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no worries. For the second part of the question, it was kind of an independent research project. So I joined the lab, and then after joining, I talked to my mentor a little bit, and we kind of came up with this project together. And then, I started kind of just like designing the project, and then eventually like fulfilling it and going through it.
What has been your favorite part about doing research?
I'd say my favorite part about doing research is definitely kind of like the sense of discovery that comes with it, which is so cliche to say, but it's so true. It's very much like when you conduct an experiment and when you get your data back, like that moment before you analyze it and that moment before you figure out what's going on, you're kind of just in the state of like, oh, is this going to be like amazing? And am I going to have like this breakthrough, or am I going to have to go back to the drawing board? And I think that's my favorite part, is just that curiosity and that sense of like, did I just discover something cool, or is like, how am I going to fix it, or how am I going to like meddle with it almost?
Have you been able to present your research at a conference, and if so, how was your experience?
Yeah, so I've been able to present different research projects at a few different conferences, but I'd say that it's a lot different because I started research kind of during the pandemic. So everything was virtual for a hot minute, and then when I was coming into lab, I was pretty much alone. So when we had these conferences, it was me presenting research that I had, but I didn't really have any kind of experience for presenting it, and didn't have any experience for kind of communicating it that well. So kind of working with my mentor really prepped me for those conferences, and it made it a lot easier to talk to people who are very knowledgeable about these kind of things, about the stuff that I'd been doing for a few months to a year at that point.
And now that you have done research, has the research experience influenced what careers you are considering now?
I'd say definitely. It's definitely influenced it. Personally, I'm doing like the applications for PhDs right now, and they're going to be applying at the end of this year. So research overall has kind of like made me a little bit more confident in my abilities to kind of be up there with people. It's helped a lot with the imposter syndrome. I feel a lot of us feel when we're talking to faculty or talking to professors, or at these types of research conferences. It's so easy to be like, oh, like, why am I here? But after doing research for a while, you kind of get a sense for what you can do, for what you can bring to the table, and it makes it a lot easier to talk to people, especially about like science and about research, when you have that experience, when you know what's going on, when you know what you're talking about.
That was well said. That was perfect. What motivates you to do research now?
I'd say it's very similar to kind of like my answer earlier. Like it's that curiosity and that want to discover. I feel like for research in general, it's one of the few careers where you can actively still discover things, or still kind of pioneer things or design things. I feel like back in the day, it was like, oh, like let me explore a map, or let me sail around the world. But I feel like now, especially, a lot of it is in research. It's in discovering like what things small molecules do, or it's discovering how far can we see out into space. It's this blend of different fields that really lends itself to exploration, and I think that's just so cool.
I've never thought about that type of correlation, but that was like perfect. Like that is how we're seeing it nowadays. What advice do you have for someone that is considering research but is unsure?
I'd say for unsure about doing research, just it sounds weird, but like read a paper or two. I feel like a lot of science papers, they're really kind of dense at times, and they use a lot of like jargon or just like words people don't know. But if you read through a paper, if you look at things that you don't know, and you get to the end of it, and you're like, this is interesting. Like I understood what they were talking about. I understood what they were looking for. I understood what they did. If you can get to that point, then it may help you if you're on the fence about like, oh, like, is this something that's going to be intimidating, or is this something that I find myself happy doing? Because like for me personally, like, yeah, I love research. It's amazing. But at the very beginning, I was very much on the fence. I was like, yo, like, should I do this, or should I, try to find a different career? And what really pushed me over the fence was talking to researchers, seeing the passion that they had, and kind of, having that meld a little bit and kind of drip into my own passions. And I thought that, yeah, if you're on the fence about it, just try to engage a little bit more with the hard to engage with stuff first, like the papers. And then after that, you'll find that everything really is, I wouldn't say it gets easier, but it gets, like you find that you're able to do it a lot more. It's just weird to say, but I think it's true.
Now, is there anything else that we left out that would be important for students to know about research and the impact it has had on you?
I'd say one thing that definitely should be considered is how intimidating it can be. Just recently, I was doing a research program at Caltech, and when you're like sitting at a table with like Nobel Prize winners, and you're just like, hello, like it's so awkward and it's so weird. But I'd say one of my biggest takeaways from that program was that People are just people. Research is just research. You know, no one area of research is going to be so much more like crazier or like not as important as others. We either do research for the pursuit of like just kind of like we want to know things, or we do research for application where it's like you have cures and therapies. But yeah, just don't get intimidated. Really, it just comes down to people are people, and you know whether it's not somebody has these crazy degrees, like they worked extremely hard to get it, and you can work just as hard and like be as successful if you really want to, if you really put your mind to it.
Thank you for that. Well, that concludes our interview, and I appreciated you being on here and talking about your experience with MARC. Is there any other shout outs you'd like to make?
Honestly, I would just like to thank like my research lab. So it's Dr. Young's reproductive biology lab. And yeah, just thank you all for coming, and thank you all for listening to me ramble on a little bit. But yeah, if you're into research, you know, do it. Do what you love. Do what you're passionate about.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for everybody listening. I did want to remind you all that our next program spotlight is going to be tomorrow, Tuesday, September 28th at 11 a.m. They will be talking about their experience with MMUF, and you will not want to miss it. Once again, this was Jessica Garcia, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at 11. Have a good one.